Good morning. Return to the Dominion is a one-day tournament that we are running at Entoyment this weekend. And ahead of the tournament, we've got lists coming out today along with pairings. I wanted to give a couple of shout-outs to three lists from the tournament that I think are either particularly interesting or have a good chance of going 3-0. I'm just going to run through them very quickly for you today. Obviously, lots of really fantastic lists coming out of the tournament. AOS3 is still fairly new. People are still figuring out their way. So who knows who will actually win on the day. I think with one days in particular, the draw makes a huge difference. So good luck to all those people taking part on Sunday. And here are three particular lists that I like the look of to go 3-0. So the first list I've picked out is a Barrack Ring KO list. Barrack Ring is particularly different to other carriage run lists. The reason it's different is it allows you to take 1 in 4 units from any other Dwarden keyworded faction. So that's City Sigmar, Fire Slayers, and they are coalition. So they gain the Barrack Ring keyword as well, which is quite interesting. And this list takes advantage of that with 2 Auric Rune Suns on Magmadroths. So love those Magmadroths. I think they're fantastic models. The Auric Rune Suns work really well in a pair, and they egg each other on. So fantastic synergy from the lore there. And you'll notice the addition of Gotrek. So this list is particularly meaty in combat for a KO list. So additionally to that, we've got 2 Etheric Navigators. One is the general. One is a recipient of the Arcane Tome and the Levitate spell, and then an Endrin Master with Endrin Harness, who is the general. Supremely Stubborn trait allows him to fight on death, basically on a 2+. And then in the battle line segment, they've got 3x10 Arcanauts with the standard loadout. And then finally, the Ironclad as the big ranged damage dealer. So this is going to feel quite different on the table to your average KO list, where it gives up quite a lot of mobility in the boats, just for 1 big boat, and the 2 Magmadroths are clearly quite fast, and then got Trev to set on an objective and basically hold it. So it plays very, very differently to your traditional KO. I think it's going to bring something really interesting to the table. A couple of other observations. Magmadroths, you might think, well, they're not particularly fantastic in combat. What do they do in this KO list? Well, the Wormslayer Javelins are really great at monster hunting. They've got some additional damage output against monsters. They also have D6 mortal wounds on the charge from the Auric Rune Sun's command ability. And finally, the other thing to bear in mind with this is where KO seems to be really struggling at the moment is finding mortal wound output. Well, you've got 14 mortal wounds on average from killing those Magmadroths. So if they can get into the right target, then suddenly you've got some ability from the Ironclad, the ability to go and park 10 Arcanauts on an objective. You've got Gotrek and the Magmadroths to threaten. You've got the ability to make a unit through Metamorphosis a 3rd monster, potentially Gotrek there, to give him either monstrous rampages or the ability to score that battle tactic. So I think it's a fantastic fun list. I think it's really interesting on the table. It will play very differently to your traditional KO list, and I really like it. It's probably how I would put together a KO list if I was going to do something similar. So I think that one's got a really good chance of going well on the day. I'm particularly looking forward to seeing it on the table. I know Gotrek is a proxy model, which I really like, and I hope the player has some really good fun going forward. So I think it's Connor that's running this one, so good luck, Connor. The second list I'm going to have a look at today is from James Wilson, who's a seasoned Ogre Moortribes player. Ogre Moortribes, again, came out with 2 in a fairly good place. The Boulderhead sub-faction doing particularly well. This is actually a Blood Gullet list. Going into 3, I think the Ogre Moortribes have all the tools they need to perform really, really well into 3. So I think they've got the ability to do what they need to do. Clearly, Stonehorns are still good. They haven't gone anywhere. The 5-up ward save is still strong. They're very tanky. they've got the ability to put out a huge amount of damage, and this list has 2 Stonehorns, so the Gemron Stonehorn, Frostlord and Stonehorn, and a second Frostlord and Stonehorn. The rest of the list, I think, is more of a sort of toolkit from an ogre perspective. Quite unusual to see Huskard and Thundertusk, but the ability to put mortal wind damage out at very long range with the Blood Vulture is really useful. They're clearly -1 to hit in combat. They've got 5 up DPR. They've got access to the prayers. The prayers are particularly useful at dealing with hordes, which is great. So we do see any sort of large units come out of this, then we could potentially see that come into play. And then finally, the other sort of seasoning, I suppose, the spice, the Butcher, with Greasy Deluge and Ripcracker. Greasy Deluge giving -1 to hit, I believe. And then Hrothgorn and Hrothgorn's Man Trappers. The reason I really like this is it gives you a really, really easy way of achieving one of your battle tactics. So Savage Spearhead, because they're coming off the board edge. So really, it's a really utility unit there for 170 points. Quite a cheap way of scoring that battle tactic. Quite a cheap way of nicking an objective late game potentially. And then finally, you've got 3 times 2 Morpho. Can just bulk out the wounds, give you some more damage output. Fantastic into stuff with relatively low saves. Damage 3 Gargant Hackers are pretty good. So Blood Gullet allows the Butchers to cast an additional spell, and an additional 3 inch on the piling around the General. So that can allow them, particularly with the new piling rules, to get into units perhaps you weren't expecting to go in, blow up a screen with the impact hits, and then progress 6 inches rather than 3 into the stuff that you don't want to get into. So Blood Gullet, I think, probably one we haven't seen very often, but I just think this list plays really well into the battle plans that we've got because of the speed. I think it plays really well into the battle tactics because of the toolkit that it's got available to it, and the fact you've got a couple of monsters, 3 monsters in this list, again gives you maximum scoring potential from those battle tactics. So I think with the right run again, it's got a really good chance of going really well, and best of luck to James. Hope he has a good day. The third and final list played by Henrik, who you may well know from the Super Series. He's got quite a good pedigree of playing on the top tables. Been playing this list for a little while. In that transition from 2 to 3 wasn't particularly kind to Daughters of Kane. They did struggle a little bit with points going up. But you'll know from seeing this list's been around for a little while now, it's still pretty strong. A couple of changes since perhaps AOS 2. But Hagnar still giving you that DPR against wounds, and Marathi Kane, Shadow Queen rather, finally getting back her Rend 2 sword, really gives her some decent output as well. But the core fundamentals of this list, you've got the command ability from Marathi Kane, and the Bloodstalkers 15 being able to be double reinforced because the General is the Blood Rack producer, just putting out a huge amount of damage at range with those 6s doing mortals to hit, and 6 to hit doing mortals, and then an unkillable Shadow Queen wreaking havoc in your lines. You've got the Cauldron of Blood plus 2 units of Witch Elves, a surprising amount of output from those Witch Elves, and then the Shadow Stalkers and the Heart Renders, again able to do that battle tactic of Savage Spearhead, able to disrupt your lines, able to take rear objectives, meaning you've got to play around the fact they're going to deep strike or potentially teleport onto one of your objectives. So I think this particular list has all the tools. It's very much a toolkit list. You've got some combat output, you've got some ranged output, you've got some tactical advantages through those teleports and those deep strikes, and you've got some survivability in the Witch Elves through the prayers. So that sort of combination, along with just the sheer output from the Shadow Queen in combat, is potentially a game winner, and I think with the right pilot behind it, it's going to do very, very well on the day. And wouldn't be surprised to see all 3 of these lists in and around the top tables on the day. That being said, with the way that AOS 3 has gone, it sometimes can just be all down to the way you play, and not necessarily the list that you've got in the pre-game. So best of luck to all the players joining me on Sunday. Looking forward to seeing you all put some models on the table and roll some dice together. Hopefully speak to you all soon. Thanks.